Welcome to Small Insight, Big Impact, where we explore life-changing moments that leaves us with wisdom. Today's episode is deeply personal and profoundly human. It's about lessons that I learned from surviving a 7.8 magnitude earthquake that struck Nepal in April 2015. This earthquake was the most powerful earthquake since 1934 for Nepal. It was an event that shook the nation, that taught the world powerful truths about resilience, community, and also fragile life. I was actually in Kathmandu to facilitate a water and sanitation in emergency training for UNICEF country officers in the region. So I'd completed my mission, and then I checked into the airport, had everything done, ready for my flight in about 30 minutes or so. So just imagine on a normal day, things people are going about the activities, no sign of any earthquake, and the airport was calm, usual business. People were buying, others were talking. I was actually on a call, and then all of a sudden, without warning, the ground began to tremble. And as a geologist, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I've studied earthquakes, but then I've never really experienced them. At first, it was like a passing vibration, and then some kind of stiffness in your body, and then the shaking grew violent and relentless. And then the airport building started to sway. When I got into Kathmandu at that time, that was my first trip there, and I was wondering, why is this airport so simple? But then, going to that experience at the time of the earthquake, I realized there was a reason. The windows shattered, people held on to whatever they could. I was actually in a corner trying to, get out of one of the broken windows. For nearly a minute, time felt suspended, and there was a sense of stiffness in the atmosphere. You couldn't move really. Those people who have experienced earthquake at this magnitude would tell you. And it was as if we were all fighting for a balance. And then finally, the shaking and the swaying stopped. And there was a huge silence, but you could see from people's faces that everybody was like shocked, surprised, trying to get things. But what followed next was, crying for help. People were rushing to footsteps, trying to get out of the airport. And that changed things forever. That changed things forever for we those who experienced it, and then all those who were also in the countryside, actually around the epicenter of the earthquake. This earthquake actually wounded Kathmandu or Nepal as a country because it reduced houses, rebels, landmarks, and at the countryside, road infrastructure was all gone, more or less. But something extraordinary happened in the moment of the devastation that I noticed. People took care of each other at the airport. People were trying to make way for the elderly, and then tried to sort of assemble around places that they felt that it was safe. Some of the people around had experienced similar earthquakes, but at a smaller magnitude. So they were actually helping with some directions, and I was actually taken back to the UNICEF country office with my colleagues to support the emergency response in Kathmandu to this deadly earthquake. So I ended up spending close to about 2 weeks in Kathmandu, Nepal, going to the countryside to help with the emergency response as part of UNICEF's action. So a couple of lessons that I've learned from this 7.8 earthquake magnitude. I'll call them timeless lesson more or less because it goes far beyond what happened in Nepal and to other parts of the world that also affected our personal lives or shaping our personal lives. Matter of fact, it shaped my life in some form or the other. First lesson is life can change in a second, okay? So every moment is very important. So appreciate every moment that you have and make the best out of it. Because we often live as if tomorrow is guaranteed. It isn't. So we have to be grateful for what we have today and always make the best out of it. So that's one thing we need to remember, that gratitude is not luxury. It is a necessity that we need to be thankful for. So that's a big lesson that I carried away from that earthquake that I survived. The second lesson that I also picked was community is the strongest form of survival. When we experience the earthquake, even at the airport, you could see even though we're all going through the same disaster, others were trying to reach out to the most vulnerable, those who were locked up or maybe caught up in certain situations and trying to get them out. Matter of fact, some people who were able to get out from the airport got back in to sort of get some people out. And also the aftermath of the emergence, the disaster, government agencies and other actors sort of pooled their resources together to support. So community, it's very important and is always the first line of support in situations like this. The third lesson that I learned also from that is preparation saves life. Yes, life is good. Life, we all expect life to go on as we want it, but sometimes it doesn't. So we need to always have an emergency plan or a strategy, a safety plan. And matter of fact, keep ourselves aware of what is happening around us so that whenever the unexpected happens, we are better prepared and positioned to be able to live through it or experience it, and more importantly, learn out of that situation. So the earthquake, the Nepal earthquake was a harsh teacher. It sort of taught the world more or less, or even individuals that went through it, a lesson, which was clear. You have to be prepared, but not be afraid of whatever happens. Because disaster will always happen, or things will happen in our lives. It's being prepared to go through the storm and learn from it, and that is what is important. And that actually, it's wisdom, more or less. The fourth lesson that I picked up from that disaster was, humans as we are strong and deeply resilient than we think we are. People went through this. Just imagine that you survive a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, but then there was this sense of rebuilding, and there was this sense among people that were affected that they need to restart. The government rose to the task, and other actors also played their role. Even though the earthquake took so much from people and also from the government, the most important thing is it did not take hope from them. Because as humans, if you stop hoping, then you've stopped living. So that's very important that I pick. So there's always hope in every situation that you find yourself, and always keep a positive attitude, no matter what you go through in life. The fifth and the last lesson that I learned from the earthquake disaster was, helping others heals you too. It's always good to help others, because when you help others, or maybe comfort others, you also feel somehow fulfilled in terms of what you're doing. So that's very important, and I could see that among the people. You could see on their faces that the small little things that we were doing, providing safe drinking water to them, and also taking them to basic sanitation practices. Those were things that they sort of you could see the fulfillment in their faces, and we would go back, or I would go back to my room, feel a bit, oh, I have made a difference somehow in somebody's life. So that's very important. So it was a good takeaway from me. So these are the 5 lessons that I've learned for this huge 7.8 magnitude that I was lucky and fortunate to survive. So what it means is, like, in life, you may not go through an earthquake like this, but we all face situations. We face moments that shake, our core, our foundation. This could be a loss, loss of a loved one, loss of job, certain uncertainties that surround what we do, or economic hardships that we go through. But, the lesson from the earthquake in Kathmandu in 2015 reminds us that, people, we need to hold closer to each other and love, more or less. What that means is, those that you love or care about, get closer to them, stay in touch with them, because time is not guaranteed, situation is not certain, and you don't know what will happen tomorrow. So it's important you stay close to your loved ones and stay in touch with them. And it also teaches us that strengthen the places that we live and work, because that's the environment when something happens that you'll be able to get the best out of. So you need to make sure wherever you are, you live in the moment, make the best out of the space, the people that you interact with. And then you also have to stay prepared. Prepared means this could be financial preparation, social preparation, and also emergency preparation. If you have like any kits that you have, just make sure you are prepared for the uncertainty, no matter what happens. You may not have all the solutions or be fully prepared, but at least you've done something in a way that will help ease your going to that particular situation. And then the last point is, never underestimate the strength that you have, your inner strength. You are stronger than you think. So just be aware of that and unleash it when necessary. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through memory. If this story inspires you, share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or maybe drop a comment, okay? That's one of life lessons you've learned from the earthquake. So if you have any lesson, for example, that you've learned from a crisis that you've survived, feel free to share it. This is Small Insight, Big Impact, where simple stories change life. Until next time, thanks for being part of Small Insight, Big Impact.